Welcome to the deep dive. You recently shared something really thought-provoking with us, almost like a guide for having a calmer relationship with your finances.
Yeah, we've been digging into Richard Carlson's Don't Sweat the Small Stuff about money
Hmm.
and some other related ideas you've sent over.
Exactly, and I think it's something that hits home for a lot of people, right?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
We all want financial security, but the constant chase, the worry,
Mm,
sometimes that feels worse than the actual money problems themselves.
for sure. So our mission today really is to get under the skin of these ideas.
Pull out the actionable insights, maybe some surprising angles.
Yeah, give you a shortcut sort of to the core principles for a more, well, peaceful and effective way to handle your money.
And there's a lot here, covering mindset, practical stuff.
It really runs the gamut. So shall we dive in?
Let's do it. I think the natural place to start is this fundamental mindset. Carlson talks about this idea of abundance.
Okay, abundance. Let's
Ah,
unpack that. One thing that jumped out at me from the book is how much of our money stress isn't even about the numbers on the page. It's what's going on up here.
in our heads, yeah.
He even says success often happens despite us worrying, which is quite a flip.
It really is. And it connects to what some people call wealth consciousness.
Okay.
It's less about a specific bank balance and more about this um, underlying belief that there's enough opportunity, enough to go around.
So it's internal, your belief about what's possible for you creating wealth.
Exactly. Your own consciousness, as Carlson puts it.
But isn't it strange? You'd think reaching financial goals would, like, switch off the worry.
You would think so.
But the book points out this paradox. Getting more money can actually lead to more worry, more obsession about keeping it safe, growing it.
Precisely. The focus might shift, but that anxious feeling, it can stick around.
So what's the alternative then?
Well, he talks about relaxed passion.
Relaxed pad.
Instead of that frantic energy, it's a calmer, more focused drive. He argues it actually works better than just frantic activity and worry. It's about being present.
Being present. Okay, that links perfectly into the next big idea, I think. Letting go of fear and negative thinking.
Yes, because fear seems to be lurking behind so many of those counterproductive money habits.
Like what, for example?
Well, think about insurance deductibles. Always picking the lowest possible deductible.
Right, feels safer.
It feels safer, but it often comes from a fear of a relatively small potential loss. And you end up paying much higher premiums over time. It's fear-driven, not always rational.
Or undercharging for your work.
Exactly. Fear of losing the client, fear you're not worth it,
Yeah.
so you undervalue yourself.
And the book mentions short-circuiting reaction spirals. I liked that phrase.
Me too. It's about catching that first little spark of negative emotion, irritation, annoyance,
Mm-hmm.
and consciously stopping it before it spirals into major stress.
Because those knee-jerk reactions can really mess up your financial judgment.
Totally. They cloud things.
Mm.
You react impulsively. If you can pause, recognize it. Yeah. Okay, I'm annoyed about this bill.
Yeah.
You can handle it more calmly, more rationally.
It also talks about nailing down those self-defeating beliefs.
Oh, those are powerful.
Things like, I'm just bad with money, or I never have enough time. It's crazy how much those thoughts can hold you back.
They really become self-fulfilling, don't they? If you believe you're bad with money, you might avoid learning or taking action, which just proves your point to yourself.
So changing that internal script is key,
Absolutely fundamental.
which leads to this idea of being reactive versus responsive,
Yeah, reactive is that impulsive, emotional, judgmental mode.
driven by the immediate feeling.
Right. Whereas responsive is more relaxed, seeing the bigger picture, thinking things through.
Making choices that actually line up with your long-term goals, not just reacting to the moment's fear or desire.
Exactly. And the book pushes this idea of banishing doubt, really trusting your own ability to create abundance.
He tells that story about his fear of public speaking, right?
Yeah, which is so relatable. It just shows how tackling those internal barriers, those doubts, can open up totally new possibilities.
It really suggests the biggest obstacles are often the ones in our own minds.
Believing in your competence is a huge step.
Okay, so we've worked on the inner game, the mindset, the fear. What about, actually doing something? That brings us to taking action and getting help.
Crucial next step. You can't just think your way to wealth. Carlson stresses diving in.
Just starting, even small steps.
Exactly. Don't wait for the absolute perfect moment, because it might never come. Don't get paralyzed by how big the end goal looks. Just take a baby step.
It's classic advice, but so true. Starting anything, a business, a savings plan, It's
Mm.
easy to get stuck planning forever.
Analysis paralysis, yeah.
Huh.
Just begin, even if it feels tiny.
And what about getting help?
He talks about hiring up, bringing in people who know more than you do in certain
Does
areas.
that make sense? Recognizing your limits.
Yeah, delegate stuff that's not your strength. If bookkeeping stresses you out and takes hours, hire someone. Free up your time for what you do best.
Focus on generating income or whatever your main thing is.
Right. And related to that is surrounding yourself with experts. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
To like pick their brains, as the saying goes.
Exactly. And the book points out, quite encouragingly, that a lot of successful people are actually pretty willing to share advice if you just ask respectfully.
We sometimes build it up in our heads thinking we're bothering them.
But often they appreciate being asked. It's a sign you value their expertise.
And then there's the idea of finding a mentor.
Yeah, someone who's been there, done that, they can offer guidance, perspective.
Inspiration too, maybe. Help you avoid pitfalls they fell into.
Definitely. Like having a guide on your financial journey.
Okay, so act, get help. Now, let's shift to some more concrete strategies. Practical financial practices.
All right, the nitty-gritty.
Lay it on us. What did we find?
Well, one really practical idea is the 1090 rule.
1090. What's that?
The idea that getting 10% of something working and actually out there is way better than aiming for 100% perfection that maybe never sees the light of day.
So bias towards action, launch and learn.
Exactly. Iterate. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good or even the enemy of started.
Good reminder. What else?
Taking some money off the table.
Meeting.
Building a cushion, consciously setting aside some earnings or profits, maybe into savings or diversified investments, spreading it around to lower risk.
So you're not always feeling stretched thin or vulnerable?
Right. It gives you financial and emotional freedom.
Yeah.
You can approach things with more calm, maybe take smarter risks because you have that buffer.
Makes sense. Insurance came up again too, right?
Yeah. Specifically, buying large deductible insurance.
And invest the difference in premiums you save.
That's the idea. Except potentially higher out of pocket for a big event, save a lot on premiums month to month or year to year, and invest those savings. Over the long run, it could pay off significantly.
That definitely takes discipline and a shift from wanting that immediate low deductible safety net.
It does. Then there's the classic wisdom of knowing when to bet, when to hold, and when to fold.
In investments, business ventures, everything really.
Yeah. Knowing when to push forward, when to stick it out, but also, crucially, when to cut your losses and move on. Don't throw good money after bad.
That requires real honesty with yourself. It's easy to get emotionally attached.
Very easy. You need clarity. Also, Carlson talks about spending most of your time on the critical inch, the part of your business or project that has the biggest impact. Focus your energy there on the high leverage activities.
Don't get bogged down in the small stuff that doesn't really move the needle.
Exactly. Work smarter.
Yeah.
Prioritize ruthlessly.
And finally, seems obvious, but have a plan.
Sounds basic, but how many people just react day to day? A plan gives you direction, a strategy, a roadmap.
Prevents just drifting along. Makes decision-making easier because you know where you're trying to go.
Okay, moving on. The next principle is a bit different. It's about giving and relationships.
Interesting. So not just pure finance.
Not at all. The book strongly pushes the idea of give, give, give.
Give, give, give.
Yeah, the act of giving, he argues, creates this positive energy flow. It benefits the giver or the receiver. It keeps money and resources circulating.
That feels almost counterintuitive if your goal is accumulation.
It can seem that way, but the idea is that generosity actually fosters abundance. It's part of the cycle.
And it connects to that do good while doing well idea.
Perfectly. Like the Paul Newman example, building a business that gives back millions. Or that really sweet story about the kid with the lemonade stand.
Oh yeah, donating his earnings to the retirement home.
Right. It shows how business and doing good can go hand in hand, even on a small scale, and how that goodwill can come back around.
What about relationships?
Big focus on developing relationships with people before you need them.
Not just reaching out when you want something.
Exactly. Build genuine connections based on respect, goodwill. Invest in your network authentically.
Because those relationships can provide support, opportunities, advice down the road.
Absolutely. And tied to that is leaving a great impression. Not just okay, but memorable.
Through integrity, kindness, how you treat people consistently.
Yeah. That positive reputation can open doors you don't even know exist.
And the last parts of this principle.
Expressing gratitude towards others. And genuinely delighting in the success of others.
Not feeling jealous or competitive, but actually happy for them.
Right. It fosters a supportive environment, a mindset of abundance, not scarcity. Celebrating wins, yours and others, creates this positive energy.
Creates a better environment for everyone, including yourself. Okay, so that covers mindset, action, strategy, relationships. What's left?
The final section is really about avoiding common pitfalls, the things not to do.
The warning signs. Okay, let's hear them.
What classic?
Yeah.
If it sounds too good to be true, it might not be. Basically, be skeptical of get-rich-quick schemes.
Healthy skepticism is essential in finance. Got it.
Also, stay away from the blame game.
Take responsibility, even if it's partly someone else's fault.
Especially then, own your part. It empowers you to find solutions instead of just pointing fingers.
Good point. What else?
This one's simple but gold. Never write an email when you're mad.
Oh boy, yes. Let it cool off.
Absolutely. Hitting send in anger can cause damage that's hard to undo. Take a breath. Step away.
Wise words.
Also, watch out for letting success go to your head. Stay humble.
Arrogance can lead to bad judgment, alienate people.
Exactly. Keep your feet on the ground. Be grateful. Another one for negotiations. Be prepared to walk away.
Don't be so desperate for the deal that you take bad terms.
Right. Your willingness to walk away is actually a source of power in the negotiation. Know your bottom line.
Makes sense. What about the market?
Don't worry about the market, invest in it. Stop trying to time it perfectly.
Just consistent, long-term investing. Time in the market, not timing the market.
Pretty much, that's generally the smarter play.
Yeah.
Also, be careful about relying on too much data.
Getting stuck in analysis paralysis again.
Yeah. Information overload can stop you from making any decision at all. Find that balance between informed and overwhelmed.
Okay. Anything else?
Don't give away your power. Meaning, don't just blindly follow others' opinions without thinking critically yourself.
Seek advice, but make your own judgment call.
Definitely. And remember the value of goodwill. It's intangible, but incredibly valuable.
And related, cheaper is not always better.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes paying a bit more for quality or reliability saves you money and headaches in the long run. Don't focus only on the price tag.
True value isn't always the lowest cost. Okay, last one.
Avoid commiserating too much about money problems with others.
Why is that? Isn't sharing helpful?
It can feel supportive initially, but Carlson argues it often just reinforces negativity and keeps you stuck. It detracts from focusing on solutions.
Interesting point. Focus energy on fixing it, not just complaining about it.
Exactly. So pulling it all together from this deep dive, the big message seems to be about shifting your inner game, your mindset, letting go of fear, and combining that with smart, consistent action and valuing connections.
Yeah, it feels like that's the path to a more abundant and, importantly, more peaceful financial life, without sweating all the small stuff constantly.
Absolutely. These ideas give a really useful framework, I think, for making better choices and just cutting down on that unnecessary money stress.
It really underscores that our relationship with money is so much about our internal approach, isn't it? Not just the external economy.
Couldn't agree more.
So, here's a final thought to leave everyone with. Thinking about all these principles we've discussed, which one really hits home for you right now? Where you are financially, and maybe what's one small, concrete baby step you could take, maybe even today. Klein, even one idea could spark some positive change. Could be pretty powerful. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.